What's up, everybody? Now, as you all know, I am a big Shahrukh Khan fan, so I thought, why don't we take a bunch of his movies and put them in a tier list? That way, I don't really have to deal with the difficulties of ranking his movies, because I know it'd be pulling hair out of my head. So I thought, why don't we do a tier list? So this is the tier list that I have. This is what I have: King, Superstar, Good, Okay, More Gum Than Cushy, and Trash. Keep in mind, these are my opinions, and I didn't pick all his movies, because some of them I haven't watched in a while, and I don't really want to go through that. So these are movies I feel like I can give a proper opinion on. So let's get started. And keep in mind, this is also not in order either. Like, when I put it in the tier of whatever it is, like, I'm not saying one is better than the other. I'm just putting them in that same tier list, because I feel like that's where it should be. This isn't really a ranking of, like, if you see one ahead of the other, that doesn't really mean anything. All right, starting off, we have Fan. I think this is a good movie. I am surprised that this flopped at the box office. I really like this movie. This is one of the most interesting concepts I've ever seen in a Bollywood film. The only gripe I have about it is that the second half turned more into an action movie instead of a thriller/horror movie. If they did that with what they did in the first half, I think this would have been an amazing film, and the lack of songs did kind of hurt it as well. All right, up next we have Swades. I mean, come on. This is one of the greatest films ever made. I love the message behind it. It feels so real. Like, everything feels authentic in this film. And Shahrukh Khan puts on a very grounded performance, one of his best that he's ever done. All right, up next we have Anjam. This is just for Shahrukh Khan's performance alone, it goes up in Superstar. For those of you who haven't watched this movie, if you think Darr and Baazigar are like crazy Shahrukh Khan characters, you need to watch this. This is by far the most unhinged Shahrukh Khan character I've ever seen. The stuff he does is crazy. The only reason why I don't have it in the tier above is I hate the ending. I think the ending is it felt rushed. Like, spoilers, they both die at the end. And, like, they show them dead and that's it. Like, there was no build up to it. So it was a little disappointing to a really good build up. So I have it right there. All right, up next, Jab Harry Met Sejal. What were they thinking with this film? I remember when I first watched, I'm a very positive person. So, like, when I watch a movie, I try to go in and try to come up with something that is very positive about it. And I was super positive about this movie, but then the more I watched it, the less I started to like it. It's just, there's too many issues, and I don't like the plot. You mean to tell me you went all across Europe and you didn't think to look in your purse once for this stupid ring? The only thing that saves it is the the soundtrack, and the chemistry between the two leads is great, but the plot is so terrible that you don't want to watch it. All right, up next we have Ashoka. I'm sorry, bye. I know my brother's gonna hate me. It's okay. This movie's okay. This is one of the greatest soundtracks I've ever heard. The plot is interesting. I don't know how accurate it is to the actual real life Ashoka. I think there are some inaccuracies with this movie, but just looking at the film itself, I like the look of it. The music's great. The chemistry between Shahrukh Khan and Kareena is great. I just feel like they could have done so much more with it. And I know this movie came out in 2001, so I feel like this movie was destined to come out a decade later. I just feel like the scale and the war and everything, it felt really small, and I felt like a movie like this needed to feel like grand scale. And besides our two main characters, I didn't really like the rest of the cast, so I'm just going to leave it at that. All right, up next, what is this, Duplicate? Oh, this is a good movie. Duplicate is a really funny movie. Some of the humor does not age well. I'm just going to leave it at that. But the movie itself, I have a lot of nostalgia with it, because my family and I watch this all the time. But this really shows how good of an actor Shahrukh Khan is. He's playing Babu, who's like this super goofy guy, and you're just like, man, how does this guy even put on his shoes at this point? And then Manu, who's like a full-on psychopath. It's a really funny movie, especially like the last 30 minutes are like peak comedic Bollywood. So highly recommend if you haven't watched it. All right, now we have Darr. Right there, goes into Superstar territory. This is like classic Shahrukh Khan right here. This is like the crazy character that people think of, the Kiran and all that. I love this movie so much. Now, you're probably thinking, why haven't I put it into King territory if you like it so much, Shahji? I'll tell you why, and for two reasons. And they both involve Sunny Deol. The character of Sunil, I don't like. I find him useless, worthless, Everything less at the end, that's what I think of. The writing on Sunil is very weak. I don't find him to be a very strong protagonist to Shah Rukh Khan's antagonist, and I hate the ending of this film. The movie should have ended with Shah Rukh Khan dying on the boat, but for some reason they added a 2-minute scene after where they're leaving the airport, and then Sunny Deol and Kiran are just like making fun of the entire situation. I'm like, bro, this is like low-key a very traumatic experience. Why are y'all joking about it? Very bad ending to a really good movie. But it very much felt like a one-man show. It felt like this is a Shah Rukh Khan movie. You don't really need to watch anything else. That's why I don't really have it in that king territory. All right, now we have Chennai Express. This might also seem a bit controversial. I'm going to put it at good. This movie was everywhere when it came out. I remember like when this came out, everybody was watching it. You had to go watch Chennai Express. I love the chemistry between Shah Rukh Khan and Deepika. Concept's pretty good. The reason why I have it here is I just feel like the humor is very goofy. It's too goofy. Sometimes like it's very much like kind of like that MCU humor where places where they don't need jokes, they put jokes in. But it has a lot of heart, and I do appreciate it. I won't hate it if it's on, but like I won't really go out of my way to go watch Chennai Express. All right, now we have Dunkey. This is interesting. Okay, I'm gonna put Dunkey at good. I actually enjoyed this one. This was the final movie of the big comeback for Shah Rukh Khan. The reason why I have this in good, the cast of characters that we have are really good. Like they feel like really good friends. I like the journey that we're on with them. The only reason why the setbacks of this film is that I think it's too long. The pacing is awful between going back to like present, old characters, and then when they're young. I don't like the pacing of it. And the last like 10 minutes, I don't like it. And the ending is not that great either. It's just not for me. I appreciate what it is, and maybe I'll watch it here and there, maybe one more time, but I won't, again, it's a movie that I won't go out of my way to watch it, but I do appreciate what it was trying to do. All right, now we have Happy New Year. This movie's okay. Again, this is a movie that when it came out, it was everywhere. Everybody wanted to watch it, and it was something that you just had to see. And I appreciate the humor and the family aspect, but the humor is not for me. It's too goofy, and sometimes it's a little too much, or even sometimes it's unwatchable. Again, like Shah Rukh Khan and Deepika, they're great. Bowman Irani's great, but I feel like everybody else isn't that great, in my opinion, and the plot is very weak, not a good villain. The songs are really good, though. I do appreciate that. Hum Tumhare Hai Sanam. That goes right here. More gum than Kushi. How do you mess up a movie with these 3 stars of Shah Rukh Khan, Salman, and Madhuri? How do you do that? The reason why I hate this film, I cannot believe they tried to frame this film to where Shah Rukh Khan's character is in the wrong. Like, it makes no sense. Salman Khan's character is so in the wrong, and he doesn't even understand that he's in the wrong until the last, 5 minutes of the movie. Like, this all could have been cleared up with a proper conversation. That's what upsets me about this film. If they just all sat down and had a decent conversation, none of this would have happened. So I don't like that movie. But I'm not going to put it at full-on trash because, some of it is pretty watchable. Kabhi Khushi Kabhie Gham. I mean, come on. This is a classic. This is like the Bollywood film. My friend, who's never watched any Bollywood films, when we sat down to watch it, this was his first Bollywood film because, I mean, come on, it has everything that you need. It's just iconic. It's an iconic film. It's a perfect way to show how much our parents gaslight us on a daily basis. Kuch Kuch Hota Hai. Oh, this is iconic, but yeah, you know what? I'm gonna put it here. This is an iconic film. One of the most premier films of the 90s. Shah Rukh Khan and Kajol, Rani Mukherjee. This is like the golden trio. I know people like to paint Rahul as like the bad guy. I am of the hill. I'm on the side where I think Tina is the villain because she literally says in the movie that I got in the way of their love story. I couldn't help but feel like I got in the way. Okay, great. So why'd you marry him? Like, you know what I mean? Like, if you knew they loved each other when she left, why did you proceed to still marry him? So, yeah, it's an iconic film, though. Yes, Boss. I love this movie. This is a classic film. I've always said, every time I've watched this movie, I've always felt like Yes, Boss is a better version of Raju Ban Gaya Gentleman. It's like a more polished version. This is so good. It's a good underdog story. The soundtrack's great. Shah Rukh Khan, peak 90s here. The comedy is really good. I just feel like it's missing something. I feel like because the villain isn't that interesting, and sometimes the movie drags along a bit. They kind of drag the whole storyline of the mom thing a little too long. It's too long. They cut it down a little bit. They took like 45 minutes off. All-time classic. But some of the scenes, I'm like, okay, let's hurry up and get to the point. Chalte Chalte. More Gham Than Kushi. This is a very interesting film. I love the first half. The first half is a very Shahrukh Khan romance film. You know, it's strangers to lovers. I like it. The second half is so boring. Like, it's just argument after argument after argument, and they get very repetitive. I feel like if they just had one big argument and settled it, I think it would have been fine. But it just felt like they kept like delaying the inevitable, and it was a little frustrating. And I know it's probably a realistic look at marriage. I can attest to that. But to me, when watching it as a film, I feel like the plot, it's like, okay, let's hurry up and get to the climax here because this isn't really a good build-up. The first half is great. You don't really want to watch the second half. My Name is Khan. This is a very underappreciated film. This is probably Shah Rukh Khan's greatest performance. I think this is the only time that he's ever gotten Oscar buzz, which is a shame. It's a really good film. Shah Rukh Khan and Kajol, I mean, what can I say? They have the ultimate chemistry. And the plot is very nice. You know, it's talking about real life issues and putting them in, you know, in the cinema world. It's kind of like their Forrest Gump in a way. Like, I know they made their own remake of Forrest Gump with Amir Khan, but I've always felt like this is like their own version in a way. Like the amount of lives that Rizwan touched throughout his time of going to find the president. I feel like that very much mirrors Forrest Gump in a way. And I really do appreciate this film. All right, now we have Dawn. I mean, this is also one of the greatest thrillers ever made. You know, I've always said that Bollywood remakes are like doomed for disaster. This is proving me wrong. Like, the one thing I appreciate about a remake is if you're going to do a remake, do your own thing. Like, don't just copy the film, okay, and like make it crappier, because that's what other ones have done in the modern age especially. This is taking something that came out in the 70s and modernizing it and also making it your own. The ending is... This was my sixth sense. Like, this movie came out when I was 7. So this blew me away. Like, my jaw was on the ground when I found out that Dawn was alive the entire time. Crazy. And I feel like the people who watched the 70s film were also shocked that they changed the whole ending. And, you know, I'm glad that's a very beloved film, and it's a fantastic movie. And also a really good thriller, great action scenes. And the supporting cast is also fantastic. All right, now we have Dil Se. This is also one of the greatest films I have ever seen. It's like a haunting masterpiece. It's like beautiful and also horrific at the same time. This movie, Shah Rukh Khan's character goes through these 7 stages of love, and I just find it very poetic. I find this movie to be one big, you know, just art piece. And it's the 2 characters I find so interesting, of one character who shows that she's not scared to die. At the end, she is scared to die, but she's open to love. And the other one, who is very fearful for his life, at the end accepts death just to be with his love. Very different dichotomies, but they end up at the end together. It's a very haunting film, but a really good film. And I can't believe it flopped at the box office. What are we doing? 0 is a 0. I don't understand this film. Like, what were they thinking? The sci-fi element came so out of left field. Like, I don't understand what they were trying to do. Why is Katrina Kaif in this film? Like, she had no need for this at all. I appreciate what they were trying to do with the VFX and all that, but the script was so jumbled. I don't even know what they were trying to do. It was trying to do too many things. It's not a good movie. All right, now we have Mehuna. This is a classic, but I'm putting it at Superstar. Oh man, this is a classic film. Like, this is one of the most iconic Bollywood films I've ever seen. Fun fact, when me and my brother do our Sunil Shetty impressions, this is where we do it. The Ram! Ram! Like, Sunil's always yelling. That's kind of what we do it on. The reason why I don't have it in that king tier territory is, I think his name's Zayed Khan, the actor's, you know, whoever plays Shah Rukh Khan's brother in this, his acting is not great. I'm sorry. The character is not interesting. He's a very basic character. The delivery of the lines is not good. Every scene he's in, it completely takes me out of it. So I just, every scene he's in, it's difficult to get through. Everything else is great though. But he himself, because he's such a major character, it's like you can't escape him. So you just can't get past it. All right, Chak to India. Boom. This is also classic. Man, what a character. You know, one thing I love about this film is that even though Shah Rukh Khan is the main character, he's not the only spotlighted character. Every single girl in this movie that's part of the team feels like a main character. I love that. And, you know, I like, you know, the kind of Meet the Titans thing, you know, the Remember the Titans thing where they're all enemies, but at the end they're all friends and sisters. I love that. It's a fantastic sports film, and Shah Rukh Khan puts on another amazing performance. It's a classic film. All right, now we have Dawn 2. This is I am going to go into King territory. I think this is also a fantastic sequel. Now, I don't like it as much as the first film, but it still is a really good movie. I love the action. I love the cinematography. I like that it has a lack of a soundtrack. It has a couple of songs, because it is Bollywood, but I feel like this was a movie that didn't need songs. And I like the twist at the end, and I like the build-up. Shahrukh Khan this is the most Dawn Shahrukh Khan's ever been. He's just embraced the anti-villain role. And obviously the chemistry he has with Priyanka is electric. I like the movie overall. It's a really good script, and I think it's really good. And I'm really sad that we're not going to get Dawn 3. All right, so Devdas. Again, this is King territory. This is an iconic film. This is amazing. This is another thing. We're taking a script that has been told 1,000 times and making it your own. One thing I appreciate about Devdas is that, especially this version, it's very theatrical. Everything feels very over the top. And I think that's what Sanjay Lee Bansali was going for, was that everything needs to be very over the top, very theatrical. And this is, if you don't think My Name is Khan is Shahrukh Khan's best performance, you probably think this is his best performance as Devdas. This is great. I think when this was made, this was at the time the most expensive Bollywood film ever made, and it made a crap ton of money at the box office. And the star power in this is unbelievable. Really good film, really sad. The rewatchability isn't great because, it's a really sad film, but really good. All right, now we have Veer-Zaara. This is also another King level film. Shahrukh Khan's had a lot of iconic films, but I think Veer-Zaara has stood the test of time. I think over time, people are starting to look at this movie more and more as one of Shahrukh Khan's better films. Like, I'm starting to see it in a lot of people's top 5 recently, and for good reason. It's a really good story, and I love Preeti Zinta in this film. They have really good chemistry. The songs are so emotional and so beautiful. And man, that scene where they both agree, that Kabul hai and Shahrukh Khan goes to jail while Preeti Zinta goes to her own jail of being in a loveless marriage. Oh my God, just such horrific, haunting imagery. And the ending when they get together, it's so sad. I love it. All right, let's move on. All right, Pathaan. It's okay. I remember going into this film, and I know I did a review on it, and I loved it. And I still like, there are aspects of the film that I like, but I think when I rewatched it, I took away the love goggles I have for Shahrukh Khan. I just looked at it, and it was okay. It was just to turn your brain off and have fun for about 2 hours. And very fast and furious. The problem is, this movie is too long. It's a little too long for my taste. And I don't really like the story. It's very basic. The action scenes, there's way too much CGI. Too much. I know what you're thinking. Oh, were you think you're going to do realistic effects? No, but I feel like they could have done something a little bit different. I'm assuming they're going to come out with a sequel. Hopefully it's a little bit better. But this was the start of Shah Rukh Khan's big comeback, and it made so much money at the box office. And it's a fun little film. Again, I won't hate it if it's on, but I won't go out of my way to watch it. All right, now we have Dil To Pagal Hai. This goes right here into Superstar. This is another classic 90s Shah Rukh Khan film. It's a really good movie. This is low-key one of the least toxic Bollywood movies. When you rewatch a Bollywood film, you low-key realize that this is kind of toxic. But this is one of the most unproblematic love stories I've ever seen. There's not really a villain. The only villain in this movie is Madhuri just preventing her own happiness. She just doesn't want to break Akshay Kumar's heart. That's really all it is. It's a really good film, really good family film. Just sit down and enjoy the movie. When I start comparing it to the movies in other tier level, I feel like it kind of fails in comparison. But it is a fantastic movie. DDLJ. Yeah. Come on. This is arguably the greatest Bollywood film ever made. In terms of impact, success rate, longevity. It's still at the box office, isn't it? After all these years, it's iconic. I literally have a poster of it. This literally launched Shah Rukh Khan into being the king, the Bacha of Bollywood. What more can you say about a film that everybody's talked about? So you know what that film represents. I'm putting it there. Rab Ne Banai Di Jodi. This also goes into King territory. This is a movie that, this has a lot of nostalgia for me because I think this movie came out in 08, 09, so I was 9, 10. So very influential. This is Anushka Sharma's first movie. It's a really good film. The story is so refreshing. You hadn't seen something like that before. And the stuff that Shah Rukh Khan's character did to try and win her love, really good. Soundtrack's iconic. It's just a really good film. And over time, the more nostalgia kicks in, it's going to start rising in my rankings. It's a really good film. Now we have Jawan. This right here is Superstar territory right here. This is a modern classic. So of the three, that of Shah Rukh Khan's comeback films, this was my favorite. I love this movie. I love the message. The action scenes are fun. I like his character a lot. He plays double role in this, you know, of the older one, Vikram Rathore, and he plays the son. Really good. Villain's fun. I like the action. I'm pretty sure they're going to come out with a second one. I'm not too sure. I wouldn't be surprised at this point. You know, it's Bollywood doing sequels these days. Yeah, so I think the only thing that's keeping it back going into King territory is nostalgia. Maybe over time, if I revisit it, it'll probably rise in my rankings. So for now, I'm going to put it in that superstar tier. Kabhi Haan Kabhi Na. Superstar. Yeah, this is a classic film. I love this movie. It's so good. The definition of an underdog story. So good. This is a very iconic character, very much like boy wants girl, and you so desperately want him to get the girl at the end. He doesn't, and it's so sad. But, I mean, he gets Dewey Chocolate at the end, so he kind of wins. Really iconic film. I just feel like the side characters aren't that interesting, and I don't think Anna is that interesting of a love interest. So that's kind of what holds this movie back for me. Baazigar. I mean, come on. This is like the thriller of the 90s, and it still is the staple of thriller films. I love this movie so much, man. The characters are so interesting. This is one of the most interesting characters Shah Rukh Khan has ever played. Straight up evil, straight up sympathetic. Just, he plays that dichotomy so well. The comedy in this, when they need it, for Johnny Lever, really good. This was Shah Rukh Khan and Kajal's first movie together, if I'm not mistaken. And man, they hit it out of the park. Really good film. The last, like, 10 minutes, just thrill ride. So that's really good. Oh, man, Ra.One. Where do I put you? Oh, boy. More gum than cushy. So disappointing. I remember the amount of hype that was around this film, like the first like major superhero film for Bollywood. And it fell flat on its face. The humor is so basic. I just don't like the story. I just don't like it at all. And like Shah Rukh Khan, like G1 as a character is pretty interesting. I don't know why they just didn't keep it simple. Like the whole thing with Shah Rukh Khan, the curly hair, I don't like it at all. Why didn't they just make it to where kind of like Spider-Man, where he's a character with the curly hair, whatever, and then he gets the powers and he becomes this alter ego in G1. I think that's what they should have done. And the kid character in this, not good. I'm sorry. I mean, Arjun Rampal's pretty good in it, so I'll give him that. But it just has a lot of issues for me. Pardes. It's a good movie. It's a good movie. I like the chemistry between Ganga and Shah Rukh Khan. Her name escapes me. I'm so sorry. Really good film. The only issues I have with it is I understand the message of like, hey, India's amazing, America sucks. I get it. As an American, totally understand. But at the same time, you need like subtlety in your messaging, not just beating me over the head of like, America sucks, America. Like this is all it is. I mean, for God's sakes, I think Amrish Puri's last line in this movie is him slapping his son and saying, go back to America. It's like, dude, I get it. You don't like America. Like, I just feel like if they kind of put it back a little bit and kind of put it in the dialogue of like visualizing the values and all that instead of just constantly telling you over and over again, I think it would have been a little bit better. But it's still a pretty good film. Like, I don't mind watching it, but I won't go out of my way to watch it. Deewana, the one that started it all. This one goes into good. Again, classic film. This is Shah Rukh Khan's first movie. That's kind of where my issues go. Is that because it's his first film, he's not treated like the superstar that he is. The first half of this movie is not, it's not it. It's okay. It's just not for me. The second half, when Shah Rukh Khan comes in and he's introduced, oh my God, such a good film. It takes it to that other level. But if it was just that first half of the movie, it would have definitely gone into that more gum than cushy territory. So I'm just going to put it at good because it has stood the test of time. English Babu Desi Ma'am. Yeah, you're going right there. Right there in the trash. What were they thinking with this movie? Shah Rukh Khan having a British accent? Like, oh my God. The story is kind of... I understand what they were doing, but I think even they forgot what they were doing halfway through the movie. It's a one-time watch if you want to get through all of Shah Rukh Khan's movies, and that's it. And it's a tough watch to get through. It sucks because I love Sonali and I love Shah Rukh Khan together, but this movie was not it, man. The script is just awful. Dilwale. That's more gum than cushy. How do you mess this up? I remember how much hype there was. Like, the songs were so good, and I was like, oh my God, this is gonna happen, this is gonna happen. And then I watched the movie, and I was like, oh, that's what you did. Ugh. The only reason why I don't have it in trash is because Shah Rukh Khan and Kajal's scenes, every scene that they do, fantastic. Everything else, not good at all. Kal Ho Na Ho. Yeah, right there. This is this is a movie right here. Like, this tugs at your heartstrings, man. It's so funny. It's like everything you want in a film. You know, it's funny, it's sad, romantic, all that stuff. The three very iconic characters, amazing chemistry between our three leads, and it's a good movie and also so sad. Why have we rewatched? Like, I've thought about this. Why do we keep watching this movie? We know what happens. Like, we cry so much and we still watch it. Like, I don't know what's wrong with us. All right, now we have Raees. Oh yeah, I'm gonna die on this hill here. This may be a unpopular opinion. That is where I'm putting it. This is a damn good film, man. Like, whoa, why didn't this movie become a super hit? This should have been a blockbuster. I love this movie. I love the cinematography. I love the story, the chemistry, the songs, everything. Like, Shahrukh Khan is such a badass in this film. I love it so much. Oh man, him and Devdas and Siddiqui, like the freaking chemistry they have with each other is unbelievable. Oh man, just such an underappreciated film. Got an Arjun. It's a good movie. I really like it. This is definitely another movie where you just turn your brain off and have some fun. Before they're reborn, those scenes are not for me. But once they're reborn and are adults, awesome film. I love it so much. Mere Karan Arjun Aenge. Sorry, I was starting there. Iconic. Mere Karan Arjun Aenge. There we go. I had it. That's a very iconic line in Bollywood. I love it so much. All right, Badshah. This is also a really good film. Another movie that flopped. Like, what were we thinking, man? You gotta support that film. Over time, it's gotten a lot more love. It's a really funny movie. It's a comedy film. I love it. The last, like, 20 minutes are just Rush Hour. So, if you haven't watched Badshah, just watch Rush Hour and then, like, watch Badshah. You pretty much got it. The only reason why I don't have it higher is I just don't like Twinkle Khanna in this movie. It's like one of the few movies that Shahrukh Khan does not have chemistry with somebody, in my opinion. I just feel like her character doesn't work. Maybe if they replaced her with somebody else, it might have worked. And, you know, that's no disrespect to Twinkle. You know, I feel like she's had better films, but I just feel like the writing they wrote for that character, his love interest, just, it wasn't good. All right, Jab Tak Hai Jaan. This is a good film. This is a very good film. I really liked it. The second half carries this, in my opinion. Like, once Anushka comes into the movie, it's a really good film. But that first half, it has its moments, but Katrina, I'm so sorry. Like, there are some scenes she acted really well, and some scenes where I'm like, I wish the director said, hey, let's try something else. Like, I just don't like it. And again, I will go to my grave saying Shahrukh Khan should have gone with Akira. Like, I don't know why they wrote it to where Anushka was such a likable character. Why would you write it to where the characters that we don't want to get together, why did you make them so much better together? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, why? I don't know what they're thinking. But it's a really good film. Like, I've rewatched it a couple times, and I find a lot of enjoyment out of it. And lastly, Om Shanti Om. Classic. This tugs at my nostalgia string. You know, Shahrukh Khan himself said it in the movie. Om Shanti Om? That's cool. Isme emotion hai, drama hai, romance hai, action hai, everything. It literally has everything you want in a Bollywood film. It's perfect. Deepika's first movie. What a launching pad for her. Man, the soundtrack. I love how creative the storyline is. And it's perfect. It's a perfect film. Like, I find no flaws in this movie whatsoever. It stood the test of time, and over time, it's getting better and better. And it's becoming a modern classic for Bollywood. And when I get older, I know I'm going to look at this movie fondly, and it's probably going to rise in my rankings as well. So there we have it. Shahrukh Khan's had a pretty iconic career. A lot more in the King territory. He's had some very, very bad ones. All right, over here. These ones over here. But let me know what you think, guys. That's what I have. You know, it's just my opinion. Again, you know, I just put them in a tier list. So let me know what you think, and I'll see you next time.